Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Dr. LaShawna Walden, and I am one of the assistant principals here at Oakland Elementary School. I am also the testing coordinator for our school, so anytime your students are tested for MAP, which is a state assessment, if they are tested for milestones, which is what you guys are here for tonight, that is planning through me and an amazing group of educators in our building that help to assist with all of that. Okay, just a couple of quick requests. If you are here tonight, I am going to be doing a presentation with you. And through this presentation, I will be providing you with probably some much needed information and hopefully answering some questions that you may have. In the interim of me doing the presentation, after it's done, I will give you guys some time for some Q&A, so that you guys can ask me any questions that you may have concerning testing this year, okay? All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get started with our presentation for tonight. And I wanna be very respectful of your time, so I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but we are here tonight to discuss the 2021 Georgia milestones and give you guys some parent information and discuss some resources that are available to you if your students will be taking the milestones this year, okay? All right. What we will talk about tonight is, what will my child be assessed on? What does my child's school do to prepare for the test? What are some ways that you can support your child in being successful on the Georgia milestones? And what resources will you be able to use to help them be more successful? How will your child be expected to show what they know or demonstrate their knowledge? And then finally, I will give you guys, like I mentioned earlier, that time to ask me some questions and be able to provide you with some support on any concerns you may have, okay? All right, so the Georgia Milestones Assessment is a comprehensive summative assessment program that represents a single system of summative assessments that span over all 3 levels of the state's educational system. So if you have a child in 3rd grade and you have a child in 11th grade, all of them will take that assessment. So it goes from 3 through 12. It's designed to provide information about how well the students have mastered any of the standards that have been presented to them in their specific grade level in the areas of English language arts, math, science, and social studies. And it's designed to provide our students with some critical information about their own achievement and determine their readiness for the next level of learning, okay? So what your child will be tested on this year in grades 3 through 8, if you have those students, it's called the end of grade test. And in grades 9 through 12, it's considered the EOC, probably have heard that, which is called the end of course test. The assessment is comprehensive. It is mandated through the state of Georgia, not a specific school district. It measures students' knowledge and skills on the state adopted content standards of ELA, math, and science and social studies. Of course, middle school students will be tested in Algebra 1, Lit, 9th grade Lit, physical science. Elementary students that are taking any advanced classes will have to take an end of grade for the overall grade level for which they're enrolled. So your students will take, if they're in 3rd grade, they'll take a 3rd grade milestones. If they're in 4th grade, they will take the 4th grade portion of the milestones. And if they're in 5th grade, they will take the 5th grade portion of the milestones. What does the test look like? Well, ELA, math, science, and social studies all have what we've seen when I was growing up. You get a selected response. That is, they give me a question, and then it may give me 4 choices, and I choose whether it's A, B, C, or D. ELA and math also include constructed responses. And a constructed response would be something like, if they ask you a question about your opinion of something that you've read, you have to explain your answer in written form. It's more like a short answer question that we've been used to as, you know, older adults. And then they also have an extended constructed response, which is worth 4 points. which is going to be a little longer than your normal short answer. It might be more of a couple of paragraphs. And then of course in ELA, we have the writing portion where that is considered a five paragraph essay. That's more of what you guys have seen. All parts of the assessment will have some technology enhanced questions, and the technology enhanced questions are where students actually have to manipulate it, may show them a graph and give them some information about the graph, and the students have to drag and drop the information in that section. How long is the test? Each section is minimum 30 minutes, but some can take up to 60 minutes depending on what modifications or accommodations your students may have. If your students have a 504, if your student has an IEP, we do use the amount of time that is provided for your students. So some students may have double time, some students may have time and a half. So they do get those same accommodations on the Milestone as well. So even though you may see the maximum time of 90 minutes, if your student is a student who gets time and a half, your child would have 135 minutes to complete the assessment, okay? All right. So when will your child test? If you have a student at Oakland Elementary School in grades 3 through 5. Okay, thank you guys so much for your patience. Let's hope we got everybody who is trying to get in here now. I do see, oh, yep, it worked. Great, Miss Adler, I'm glad that worked for you. Hot diggity dog. Okay, so how long is the test? We'll pick up from there, okay, everybody? Thank you guys again. Each section has a certain maximum amount of time and as well as minimum. Each section, minimum 30 minutes to complete. But as I mentioned before, if your students do have accommodations via their 504 or their IEP, they will get those extended times that are applicable to them, okay? All right, when will your child test? And that's the big question. When are we testing? When are we testing? So 5th grade, well, let's take that, let me slow down. I am loving that they've given us a 3-week window to get the testing done. Normally it's done over a 1-week period. Now this time we have 3 weeks and we will do 1 grade per week, beginning with 5th grade on April 26th. On April 26th, they'll take the ELA first part, which is more of your short answer, your multiple choice that I mentioned to you earlier. And then on the next day, which is that Tuesday, they will do the lengthier section of the ELA portion that I told you would consist of a essay type question. So that's the writing portion of the ELA. And then of course on the 28th, 5th grade will do math. On the 29th, they will do science, and then 5th grade will have makeups on April 30th. This year, I don't know if you noticed it, but there's no social studies. So they pulled that part out of testing so that they can shorten it a little bit. I kind of guess that's because of the space that we're in, okay? And then for 4th grade, they will begin testing the week of May 3rd with the same format that we've done for 5th grade. And 3rd grade will begin their week of testing during the week of May 10th. All of this information, as well as this presentation, will be posted on our site. So if you couldn't remember the dates, you can always go there and you'll see the dates for your child's test. What type of questions are your children going to see on the Milestones assessments? Well, here's an example of those constructed responses that I told you about earlier. And a constructed response for ELA and math will be seen. For example, on this question you see here, it's asking the questions about transformation of triangles. I'm still admitting. So the student would have to go in and actually type their answer. It might be a word, a phrase, or a group of words, but it has to be typed in for them to get credit. This would be more of those, one of those 2-point questions. What type of questions? Here is an example of a writing task. So they would read the task and they give them a checklist. A lot of the things that they see in the checklist are things that they have learned in the classrooms with their teachers as we've worked on Right Score throughout the year. So they will give a response, and this is for every grade level, which usually is a lengthier portion of the test. Here are some multiple choice examples. These are the ones that we may have seen when we were in school, where it was just a question and an A, B, C, D choice for an answer. However, what we encourage our students to do is to really read closely, because some of the multiple choice questions ask them to choose more than one answer. So they have to be sure to indicate their choices there to get full credit for that question. Here's an example of the technology enhanced items that I mentioned earlier when we first began. Remember how I told you guys it would you could see a chart or a graph or a grid, and the students would have to move. They would actually click, I can't do it here in this space, but they would click on the item that they want to move and drag. They've had so much practice with this being virtual, so I'm sure they will be great at maneuvering through those technology enhanced items. What is Oakland Elementary doing to prepare your child? We have provided such a variety of instructional support to your students to be able to prepare them for this time that we are approaching quickly. We have implemented small group differentiated instruction in both ELA and math. We have implemented a re-engagement session that our students are doing. Our teachers sometimes tell your kids to come back at 1:30, depending on the time that they're doing their session. And that's when the teachers can provide them with grade level explicit instruction based on assessments that they've taken previously. And they analyze that data and they can say, hey, I know this student needs to support with this. We have accelerated math. We have EIP services, which use Read 180. System 44. They're all based on the students' literacy levels. We have hands-on math that is also used in EIP. We have our MTSS program, which also provides different support for our students based on targeted skills, and students are given weekly or bi-weekly probes to address any areas of deficit that the teacher's been working on with them in small groups. We use RightScore and MindPlay. Some of your kids probably love MindPlay. They want to spend more time on MindPlay than actually being into the class. Okay. What can parents do during testing? One of the first things we want you guys to do is just be encouraging. Motivate them. We don't want it to be, oh gosh, you got to go take that test. But hey, you got it. You rock it. You go rock that test. Do your best on the test. Give them that encouragement that they need to come in and do their absolute best. Remind them to read the directions carefully. As I alluded to previously in the question that I shared with you in the multiple choice setting, there are often times when students will have to choose more than one answer. Well, if they're not reading the directions carefully, they may only choose one, and we don't want them to do that. We also want us to, encourage them to go back and double check your answers. Sometimes kids just want to get done. They just want to finish. You guys that have been at home with remote, you've probably seen that while your kids have been doing the math assessment. They're just clicking. They want to get done because sometimes it can be a lot, but we want to encourage them to carefully take their time and read over their work before they submit their test. We want to point out to our kids that there may be some questions that they don't know an answer to. There may be some questions that are a little bit harder than others, and that's okay. But just tell them to do their best and make their very best choice and get that answer submitted. Help them get a good night's rest, going to bed early, making sure that they're not sitting. I know my own child, he'll try to sneak his phone and he'll be on the video game after I walk out of his room. So just removing those types of temptations so that they're not staying up past their bedtime and they're fresh the next day. Make sure they have a balanced breakfast at home, but even if they're not eating at home, we will be providing breakfast as we are doing now every day for students who are taking the test, just because that's what we do. Stick to your schedule. Don't deviate from that, and don't focus your conversations too heavily on the test. We don't want them to feel that fear that sometimes can happen when they're thinking about an assessment or have that anxiety. And practice using some of the same materials that the students use at home that they're going to be able to use in the test. Scratch paper. I know when I was in the classroom, one of the things that I really encouraged my kids to do, where's your work? Where's your work? Even if it's a written response, write out a sample, cross out words before you type them in, just look at your spelling. And most importantly, getting them to school on time. And I will say that again, get them to school on time, because if they come in after testing has started, they can't test, okay? All right. The district has placed some study guides for milestones on the website. And the study guides that are there are intended as a resource for parents and students to use. It contains some sample questions that look very similar to what your child will see on the milestone. The questions are fully explained, and they even go as far as to tell you why your answer is right or if your answer is wrong. And you can find that right here on the Henry County School Wire's website. And there's a link there if you are driving in the car and sometimes the kids will sit in the back seat on the phone. Just click on that link and let them do it that way. Or if you're at home, there's your QR code for you to scan, and they can practice that study guide or have access to that study guide at home. And this is just how you can use those study guides. Help by getting your child's materials that they need: pens, pencils, glue, highlighter, notes that they've taken in class, making sure they find a comfortable place to sit that's got good lighting, which is what we're doing right now in this space that we're having to operate in. If your child is remote, it's very important that we're not laying in the bed or hanging out on the couch, but we're sitting somewhere where I can focus on what's in front of me and I can pay attention. I'm not looking at the TV. The video game is not here to the side of me. And then setting aside some time for your child after school that's dedicated to studying. And that's really important, even if it's for 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, just making sure that they have time to apply those skills during the day. And even do a study buddy. The kids are really good now virtually. So even if they want to get on their phones and do a iPhone message with someone or do FaceTime with somebody, and they question each other about certain things on the study guide, that would be great too. And just encouraging them to answer their questions and making their choices carefully. All right, we're not going to actually go into the Georgia experience, but this is how your child will be able to show what they know. We have also placed the link for the Georgia experience online session on our school website. And if you go into our school website and you go into information, you'll click the information link, and then there'll be a drop down and you'll see GADOE. Once you click on that, you'll find the link to the Georgia experience online. And there's also a video available that you can use or watch to give you some more experience with what the test will look like. But please understand that some of the questions that you see may not always represent the grade level that your child is in. For example, if I get on and I'm a third grade mom, but I see something dealing with, like I showed you earlier, transformation of angles, I know that's a higher grade level than my child, but you will see some of those. There's also on the Henry County site information where you can go. The kids love Kahoots. That's the big thing in this digital world that we're having to operate in. So it provides them with ways or questions that are very similar taken from the milestone, and they can play a Kahoots game. It's called Are You Smarter Than a Third Grader? And there's one for every grade level. There's one for Are You Smarter Than a Third Grader? Are you smarter than a fourth grader? Are you smarter than a fifth grader? So all those questions are there, all those activities, and it'll give them some more specific ideas or samples of what they'll see in the upcoming assessment. How will Oakland use those test results to support your child? Well, the first thing that we're going to do is use it to determine what we need to do for school improvement. It may also help determine placement into some specialized programs like accelerated math, gifted, or remediation classes. Right now, I don't want you guys to, oh my gosh, my child's got to do really well. We know, we understand the space that we're in right now. So what we are basically using is how your child is performing now, okay? Here are just some more available resources that you guys can have access to. Again, here's it's on the Henry County School website, and you'll just go in there and you'll see where it talks about all those parent resources that will help you with understanding the milestone, help you get a better understanding of what you can do to help your child, and then give you some resources that will help prepare your student for the upcoming assessment. All right, so now is our Q&A time, and I am going to stop sharing my presentation so I can see you guys. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to unmute or type your questions in the chat, and we can go from there. Do all of the students, I see that question just came up, I'm sorry. Do all the students have to be in the building to test? Yes, any student who is taking the Milestone assessment will have to be in the building for the assessment. Let's see here, Miss Tiffany, I can't get you to unmute there. And I can't unmute you. Can you type it in the chat for me, Miss Tiffany? Because I can't get you unmuted. I see Johan says when. Are you asking when will we take the assessment? Okay, so there are dates, and let's see, depending on the grade of your student, if it's a 5th grader, your child will start testing the week of April 26th. If your child is a 4th grader, your child will start testing the week of May 3rd. And if your child is a 3rd grader, your child will start testing the week of May 10th. And Tiffany, we still didn't get you unmuted, did we? No. Is this a test that can prevent a child from being promoted? No, ma'am, it is not. We are not going to be using the results from the Milestone this year to determine any placement, any retention, or any promotion. Oops, hello, let's see. Let me go back up and let's see some more of these questions. Will this be a whole day of testing? So if your child is in the building, your child will be testing from maybe 8:30 in the morning, depending on what kind of accommodations, whether it's extended time or double time that your student may have. But it usually goes from about 8:30 in the morning to maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But it also depends on the student who is testing and what accommodations, according to extended time that they get. Are all students required to test? Every student is invited to come into the building to take the test. Every student is invited to come in to take the assessment. Do we have options for the kids to take the test? The district is constructing a letter right now that will be mailed out to all parents that will explain what your options are for the students to take the test. Tiffany, you're fine, you're fine. But did I answer your question? Okay. All right, let's see. My son just joined the school a little over a month ago. Will or should he still take the test? If he is a grade 3 through 5 student and you would like for him to take the assessment and he is in our school, yes, ma'am. What is the link to have them sign up for taking it? How do Spanish-speaking kids take it that know little English? There's not a link that you have to use. No one has to sign up for the test. What we are asking, especially if your child right now has been fully remote, we are asking that you commit to reaching out to us to let us know whether or not your child will be coming into the building to take the test or not. And I do want to make sure you understand, if your child, there's not an option of, oh, can my child take the test at home? Because we're not administering, this is an assessment, we can't administer that online. So they have to physically come into the building to take the test. Let's see if I have any other questions. Any other questions? I don't see anyone's mics unmuted and I don't see any. Okay, if they are already attending in-building classes, they don't need to do anything but just be there on those days. That is absolutely correct. If they are already in the building and they've been in there face-to-face, there's nothing else they need to do. Just keep coming on to school. You're welcome. 5th grade begins, Ms. Gibson, on April 26th, and that will be part 1 of the ELA session, but it will go all the way through that week, basically, because we added some time in for makeup. It starts, we are asking students to be in school. If they ride the bus, they'll be there on time anyway. If they are car riders, we want kids there at their normal time, 7:45, because testing will start about 8:30. Does the test determine if they get promoted or retained? No, it does not. It does not determine whether or not they get promoted or retained this year. We're not using the data for those purposes. And it's all day. My student is remote. So Ms. Gibson, if you are choosing, and that you will be able to let me know or let your child's teacher know, if you want your daughter or son to come into the building, shoot us a message, send it to your child's teacher. I also sent out a survey, which your teachers probably sent you a link for you to complete, and that will give me an idea of who's coming into the building. I'm not trying to capture so much of my in the building students because they've been there, they're face to face, but it's my remote learners that may want to come in. So if your child is remote, fill out that survey for me, let me know, and then we'll make sure that we have her added on to the list of students that are coming into the building to get tested. And it's not all day, it just depends on the time it takes as far as the type of the questions that your child has to answer will be based on how can I say, on the accommodations that your kid may have. So if they get extended time or double time, if your child has a 504 or if your child has an IEP, that determines the length of our test. If we do take the test, will it benefit my child's classes in middle school? My child is in 5th grade. If your child comes in or if your child does take the assessment, none of that information will be used to determine any classes that your child takes in 6th grade. Do we have the option to opt out of the test since both of my children have been virtual? If that is your case and you do not want your child to take the test, just send an email to either me, Mr. Grant, communicate with your child's teacher, and we will take care of each one of those situations on a case-by-case basis. Do we pick them up at the time school is over? It is a normal school day. If your child is coming into the building to take the test, your child will be in school the entire school day. Sure, I will put my email in the chat right now. You're welcome. Any other questions? You guys seem to be okay.
Yes, for the 4th graders, what day is it gonna be on?
The 4th grade will be testing on May 10th. Nope, sorry, May 3rd. They start on May 3rd.
May 3rd?
But it's all week, so they'll test May 3rd, May 4th, May 5th, and as long as they're there May 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and they don't have to make up anything, they're good. Okay. Oh, you're welcome, Mr. Allen. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate that.
May 3rd and 4th.
Any other questions? I hope this has helped. I know there's a lot of questions going around, so we really hope this has helped you guys. So is there a point for my child to take the test other than to see where they stand? It's test taking skills that your student will learn. So that's another great reason for them to take the assessment. And just to see how much of the information that they've gained in this digital space, in this remote space, due to, you know, being in school one week or not being in school, just to see how much they've gained. So I hope that answers your question, Mr. or Ms. Patel. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. Will the parents receive the results of the test? If your child takes the assessment, the results will probably not be ready until summer. So that's when we usually, and with us working through a pandemic right now, I don't know if that's going to slow down the process of getting this test scored and the results back to the districts, but usually it's right at the beginning of the summer that we start to see some of the results come in. It is for 3rd and 4th grade. It is for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. Any more questions? Because if not, I can let you guys go. I appreciate you all being here, and this video, we'll probably have to cut it up a little bit because there were some extended times on there, but we'll get this video posted and place it on our link for those that you may have friends who missed it. And if you guys have questions, we're here. Don't hesitate to send us an email, shoot us a phone call. Will the test be on Chromebook or paper? That's a very good question. It will be digital. They will have a test ticket and it will be on their Chromebook. You're so welcome. Thank you for your time. Thank you. This test starts for 3rd grade on May 10th, and it will start with ELA that day. How do we retrieve the results of the test? Do we have to ask, or will they be provided? They will be provided to you, but as I mentioned before, we usually don't see those results start coming in until closer to the end of the year, beginning of the summer. So sometimes we have to actually mail those results out to you. You're welcome, Mr. Allen. Anyone else? I know sometimes it's like you have a question, but you can't remember what your question is or don't know what to ask. You're welcome. You're welcome. You guys stay safe as well. Thank you. You're so very welcome. If you guys are good, I will let you guys pop out, but I'll stay and hang around just in case a question comes up.
Yes, what about study material?
So one of the links or one of the slides that I shared tonight does show you where you can go to get study guide material. Our students will also begin test prep next week. So we will have coaches that are going into the classrooms to provide some test prep. And the teachers will be doing some extra work with the kids to provide them with some extra services or support. But it's
Okay,
also in the presentation I shared with you. It'll be placed on our website, school website, so you can go there. And there's lots of resources there too. For example, that Georgia online experience that I mentioned.
Yes, because my son is remote learning at this time.
Oh yeah, you're Chris's dad. Hi there, I've talked to you.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So yes, there's all kinds of information there for Chris to have access to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Will the bus come, or do our parents pick us up? So if you are coming, if you're a remote student and you are choosing to come into the building to test, you would need to let me know specifically so we can also communicate that with the bus driver so they know that you would be at the bus stop. And if you're not sure if your bus stop or what time the bus comes, you would just need to ask us and we can provide you with that information. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Mr. Housen.
I'm saying he's not going to take the bus. I'll take him.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye. So what time does the bus come? Is that what you're asking, Mr. Hernandez? So it depends on your stop. So we can find that information out based on your address. You would just need to call us. And if you call the school tomorrow morning, as a matter of fact, if you call and give us your address, and we can find out what time the bus would be there to pick your student up. I am going to stop the recording. I just thought about that.